Running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans, welcome to Talking in Ovals. I'm Alex Cuesta. My partner in crime over there is Dave Hyatt. What's going on, my brother?
The Talking in Ovals good luck charm continues. This past week at state sectionals, we had past guest Chris Stefelski of Westfield, state sectional champs. We had recent host Brian Decker winning the first ever state sectional title for the Point Borough boys. Manchester gets second, and South Brunswick had a very good showing too. So, coaches, if you want to run well, you got to come on.
Yeah, then, that's coaches all around the country. We're throwing it out there for everyone. I've been trying to hawk around to try and get some more coaches and athletes from around the country to come on. We will have that. We'll branch outside of New Jersey from there. But before we get into all the fun stuff, this is episode 62, recording on Monday, October 30th of 2023, a day before Halloween. So, you'll be hearing this on Halloween. So anyone going out, be safe. Don't do anything stupid. Watch out for your children. Make sure that you know what houses they're going through. Check their candy, all that fun stuff. And, outside of my little disclaimer there, if you like what you hear today, give us a like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth and go look for us on the socials at the Alex Cuesta Show. So we have no official PRs this week, but Dave did mention all the great athletes that, ran for former coaches that, we've had or coaches that we've had on. So we're excited about those. Last week's show, we had another fantastic show. As always, we had another repeat guest, but we love having repeat guests because all of our guests are awesome. We had Jeff Benjamin, writer for Run Blog Run On. We talked all about the Marathon Legends dinner coming up this week with guest of honor Dave Hyatt going.
I will be there in less than 48 hours. I'll be talking with Bob Beeman and Dave Waddle and a host of other legendary runners, and I cannot wait.
And, with luck, you'll be hearing a lot of them coming on our show as long as Dave puts on his, girlish charm and really sweetens them up. We'll be able to, and I think they will, because I feel like if you have the backing of Jeff Benjamin in the running world, that's gonna, if he likes you, I feel like a lot of people are going to like you, and I think he likes us. So hopefully that'll go well for us. Before we get into this week's show, first I want to yell at all the coaches that we did mention. Give us PRs. What's wrong with you people? And next, though, I do want to talk about one of our former guests, Coach Adam Nalvin. We've been saying this for a few weeks, but we're saying it. This is really important today. Oh, if you're over near the Bricktown area, go sign up for the River Rock and Run Relay. It's November 4th. It is this weekend. It is the day before the New York City Marathon. And register. Go on Facebook, search River Rock and Run Relay. Go there. It is a 5K. You can either run the flat out 5K. You can split it up with 2 people. Each of you run around 1.5 miles. It's lots of fun, and you'll really enjoy it. And hopefully the weather participates. But if not, we're runners. We like the cold. We're psychos. So go there, register, support Coach Nalvin, and it'll be for a great cause. So for this week, we have a fun show. This is fun for me because this is the first guest that I got to coach over at Marist College. So, really makes me pumped. And this is a guy that every single day you came into practice, and most people, practice kind of sucks, right? You're always slogging in and this, I don't want to run practice. Everyone wants to run meets. But when this dude came in, he was always smiling. He was happy. He was just like, what are we doing today, coach? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And it was always just good to see him. He brought such a good vibe to the team. He's also just a really good dude and somebody that I know Coach Pete, Coach Terry, Coach Chuck, all down the line are just proud of him because now he is a coach in his own right and was, just a fantastic athlete too, Coach. He's Santosh Krishnan. What's going on, Tosh?
Hey, what's going on, Cuesta? Good to be back. Good to be on the show. How are you?
Good, man. It's just, lots of fun. And like I said, you are the first athlete that I coached at Marist to come on the show. So it's really exciting to talk to you. And I couldn't have thought of a better first guy to jump on.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's great to be here. Super excited to be here.
So we want to jump in right away. The question that we ask all of our, former athlete guests and everything. When did you get the spark to become a runner? Because being a runner is usually something that's a punishment and then people realize they're good at it. So when did it come to you that, hey, I can do this running thing for a long time. This is awesome.
I'm happy to say that for when most or some people are not really able to answer that question, I actually know exactly when that started. I actually have a couple of reasons and times where I remember when I would want to become a runner. So I'd say the first one was, so I grew up in Darien, Connecticut, and like most high schools, most school systems, they have the fitness test. And so in fourth grade is when they begin the fitness test. It was 2007. And we had the mile run. And the second time I ever ran the mile, I ran it in 7:30 as a fourth grader. And I beat my entire class by over a minute. And like, of course, I got all the compliments from my classmates, like, yo, Santosh, like, how did you run that? You're so fast. Like, how did you do that? And they're like, wow, I'm actually like, I didn't realize how good I was. I knew I loved to run around and play with my friends and play on the playground as a kid, but I didn't realize I was that much faster. So I knew by then. And then like, I told my mom, she was super happy. And then, you know, the 2008 Olympics came up and I saw Usain Bolt.
So quickly, did you have to carry the popsicle sticks? Because I always remember that was our thing. We did it.
Yes, we did.
Carried the popsicle sticks, and I always hated dropping them because you'd have to like stop and find them, and it was the worst because you would get Butterfingers sometimes. But yeah, if anyone,
I never dropped them, but I do remember that. That's kind of funny. Somebody else was doing that too.
I think we all did it.
Absolutely.
Keep going.
Yeah, so I ran the mile in 7:30. So I knew I wanted to be a runner then. And seeing Usain Bolt in the '08 Olympics and how he won the 100-meter dash made me want to do the 100-meter at the fifth grade track meet at Darien at DHS at the high school where I actually teach now. And I ended up winning my heat in the 100 as well. And then in sixth grade, I had this little 50-meter hill over here that's relatively steep, and I just started running it after school every day 8 times. And then in seventh grade, I started to go into the little middle school fitness center. I started doing the chest press and the bicep curl and all these different weights. And then eighth grade and ninth grade, right once I started ninth grade, I knew I wanted to join the track team. And so that's when I really started to take track really seriously. And after trying all these other sports, like playing house basketball, house soccer, fall ball, baseball, it just wasn't my thing. But I always knew that I wanted to do track from a young age. And that's really how I got started.
Did you not have a track team in middle school? Because I know a lot of places have it. Did you have one?
No, Darien didn't have like a track club or a team or anything like that. Really? There are a couple of towns in Connecticut that do, but Darien was not one of them.
Yeah, because, you know, Jersey, pretty universally.
Every middle school has a track and a cross-country team, yeah.
I went to Lakehurst Middle, and we didn't have a track. I didn't run for 2 years because I ran in sixth grade. And then, it's a small little area. There's like 50, 60 kids per class. But, you know, we didn't have one. But overall, but yeah, no, that's pretty cool that you have like 3 moments and kind of like you were chipping away at the moment to get to that point. So take me through memory lane of, you know, ninth grade running, going through high school, getting to Marist, competing at Marist. What are some of your favorite moments and memories from being a runner?
Yeah, sure. So like starting freshman year, you know, I joined a little fall track group that didn't do cross country because they all wanted to focus on sprints. I knew I'd want to do that. So I ended up doing this little speed endurance camp in 8th grade. I met the sprint coach. He was pretty pumped when he found out I was going to be a freshman. He thought I was going to be an 8th grader. And he said, dude, you got to join F-Track. And the first day of school, when I saw him as a freshman, he said, you got to come meet me by the bleachers and meet some of the team. So I did. And so all fall, I started training with them. You know, we ran stairs, we ran some track workouts, we did some distance runs, and, you know, the people I ran with were great. Fast forward 3 months, we got into indoor track. You know, I run my first 4x4. I think I split like a 61 or something on some really crappy 150-meter gym floor track, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
But I knew that was a time where I was going to be a 400 guy. I didn't know much about the 400. But I knew I didn't really want to go anything over like the 600 because I always just wanted to focus on the sprints. But at the same time, I knew I wasn't necessarily like a 55 dash, 60-meter dash guy. When I ran that 53 as a sophomore, like I thought I was going to take 4 seconds off a year and make the 16 Olympics. Like that's how excited I was. And my coach was like, you know how hard it is to take off 4 seconds off a year in the 400, right? I'm like, yeah, I know. But going forward to junior and senior year, like junior year was a tough year for me. Like it just was not my year on the track. Like mentally, I got nervous going into races and run as well. And that's like your prime year to really start getting some college coaches' attention. So I was like, shoot. And I knew I wanted to go D1. Like even some of my high school teams like, dude, like even if you don't go D1, that's okay. Like, no, I want to go Division I. Like I don't care how big or small it is. Now, me being a big University of Arizona fan, I had my heart set I was going to run at U of A, right? I was going to go Pac-12. I was going to walk onto the team and I'm going to be an Arizona Wildcat. But, you know, I didn't realize that it's really difficult to run for U of A. But then when I reached out to a few coaches, Marist being one of them, Pete was one of 4, the only one of 4 that actually got back to me. And I remember when I was in the gym one day, I said to myself, you know what? If I really want to go Division I got to put my heart and soul into Marist because this is a coach who actually responded and sees potential in me. So every meet junior year and like fall of fall training senior year, I emailed Coach P. Like after every single meet I ran, I sent him an email. And I'll never forget. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on the show, but
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you could swear.
yeah, I'll never forget when I saw Pete and I first started running. He was like, and we had some sort of conversation. He was like, "Yeah, I knew you were interested because you'd fucking email me every time you you ran a race." And I was like, "Yeah, because I just wanted to show that I was pretty dedicated to it." And then I know Pete was saying like, there's going to be a tryout, and then I was like so nervous, and then like some of the other guys like Tim Johnson, Joe Cafaro, they were just like, "Dude, he's going to do a tryout." He just says that. Everybody makes the team. So I made the team. So I finished high school strong after New Balance Nationals in North Carolina. And I started running at Marist. I met all the guys. I met Cuesta, of course, which was fantastic. Freshman year wasn't great. Sophomore year was not great either. But junior year is when I really started to break out. And senior year, of course, I didn't get to finish because that was the 2020 year. So the amazing shape that I was getting in, I never got a chance to potentially break 50, potentially break 23. But that's kind of the path that I took up to Marist. And now as a coach, over at Blindbrook High School, very small team. Lucky enough to have the head coach for cross country, indoor and outdoor track at 26 years old. You don't really get a lot of spots like that. But I've told some of my athletes that are running in college, and one that's currently at Central Connecticut State, if you don't do well your freshman year, it's not the end of the world, because I had my time where I wasn't. It doesn't mean you peaked in high school. If you don't do well your freshman year, you can, for example, you're probably eating different foods. You're staying up late at night with your friends. Your practice time is different than it was in high school. Your routine just changes. So once your body adjusts, the time will come. And I believe it'll come for everybody as long as they stay consistent.
Yeah, that hard work base is, something, and also getting used to the different style of training, right? Because high school training and college training, it intensifies regardless of what college you go to. This is now something that you're doing, 5 days a week. You're expected to be in the weight room. You're expected to do a lot of things, and they're taking their time to train you, and these coaches are, paid, and this is their job, and they need to see success in order to continue to have their job. So there is a little bit extra added pressure. And I think I used to tell you, as well as I told all the athletes, if you're here, train like you want to be a national champion. It might not be realistic, but if you're not training, if that's not your goal, then get out of Division I track. Like, there's no reason to be here. So, and I think that that's a mindset that so many athletes have to take. And it's tough. It's tough to click on from high school, where it's like, oh, I want to do great in counties and conference. If I make states, that's great. To if you go and run college, it's like, no, my goal is nationals, period. Like, there's no other questions. Even if it's unrealistic, I want to get to nationals. So it's definitely a switch in the mindset there.
Yeah, it definitely is. And even like, you remember those morning lifts at 5:45 a.m. I actually look forward to them.
Yeah.
I was one of the very few people who actually look forward to morning lift. I thought it was great, get a hard workout in. Like, I still love lifting weights. I'm fortunate enough I work at a high school where I can use some of my free periods, and I go and lift weights to get the morning, to get my workout out of the way. But I was actually kind of sad to hear that they kind of discontinued it when I left. Like, people stopped showing up, and I was like, oh my God, that's terrible. Like, we got to keep the tradition going.
I mean, they didn't have a pain in the ass like me forcing you guys to come and then making everybody go and do a run right after to shake it out, which the short sprinters hated. But mind you, how many records fell during the time where, we were there? And
I agree, man. I totally agree. I was telling my team, like, you better be there. Like, I wanted to, as a captain my senior year, I ran the program as a Division I captain.
Yeah.
I said, you better be there, because if you're part of a Division I team, if you don't like it, I understand, walk away, but you've been recruited for a reason. You're part of, there's less than 10% of Marist College that are student athletes. You stand out in a way where you have a special talent that has been recognized, that you can now work hard to get even better.
And, shout out to the weights coach at Marist, Aaron Suma. Suma was very
Suma's fantastic.
Dedicated. I hope he's doing well. He's still there. So I'm happy he's still there. He was
I'm sure
coach, and, he was dedicated. If you were going to put the time in there, he was going to put the time to make a proper program for you. But you have to be dedicated as well. And he did a great job.
I still train the way that Suma taught me to train. He sent me his template that he had, because I don't know how to make it on Excel.
Yeah.
And I still follow it to this day, 4 years later.
And he adjusted it for runners. It wasn't like the kind of cookie cutter, well, football players do this, so that's what everyone.
Yeah, exactly. I like the way he does it too, with the base, the low, the recovery, and then the peak. I've been doing that ever since I graduated. And I tell my athletes to do it that way too.
Yeah, Coach Suma's fantastic, so shout out to him. Now, I want to jump into something that maybe not everybody knows about you. You're an individual that has cystic fibrosis. And
That's right.
Go ahead and explain that to people that may not know what cystic fibrosis is and what it does.
So it's definitely a lot to it, but I'll keep it as simple as possible. So basically what cystic fibrosis is, also known as CF, is a genetic disease caused by a faulty gene. For those who are very good at biology, a recessive gene that causes a lot of differences in the way some organs function, mainly the lungs and digestive system and sinuses. So where normal people can produce a very thin lining of mucus, people with CF produce very thick mucus, whether it's in their lungs and in their pancreas and in their sinuses, which can be very hard for them to, first of all, breathe in severe cases. Second of all, trap and fight infection and digest food. Since the pancreas is blocked, the pancreatic enzymes can't reach the stomach, which can cause very severe stool and diarrhea at times, which is not easy for people. And then it struggles. That makes it very tough for people to gain weight, which makes it even more difficult to fight infection when you don't have weight under you. So it's tough for people who have, there's been research going on that the lifespan of people with CF continues to grow thanks to treatment, but there's a lot of things that people with CF have to be careful about, like taking care of their lungs, eating well, reduce inflammation. So for me as a runner, running has only helped my quality of life, and same with weightlifting, because it's improved my lung function dramatically. I also try to eat really well, but do have times where I cheat a little bit. But the cool thing is about CF is that a lot of people with CF need high calorie meals to maintain the caloric intake. So sometimes fast food is not always the worst thing for me, because it can cause inflammation, but it also allows me to get enough calories for the day. So I'm burning calories like crazy just by having CF, and then running on top of it, plus all the muscle mass I have. I'm like a calorie burning machine. So CF is pretty rare. About 30,000 people in the United States have it. So it's not very well known, but treatments have come out to really help the quality of life with people who have it. And a lot of them can live near normal lifespans, which I believe I am well on pace to do, considering the amount of dedication I've had on my body to take care of myself. And that's something that inspired me to become a PE and a health teacher, so I can encourage, people who are normal to take care of themselves, and why it's so important to do so young, so that way when they get older, they'll have a better quality of life.
I had a high school teammate, shout out to DJ Whitaker, who had CF, and it just the amount of dedication and work that he had to go through every day just to be able to go to practice and to be able to compete in a meet. And his doctors, when he was young, were saying, the lifespan is long, but as he gotten more into track and into working out, his doctors were just amazed at how much progress that he had shown, and how much clearer everything got for him. And, he ended up running really, really well. He was a big part of our team, our 4x4, and he's still doing great. And, I just, so seeing it firsthand, like you said, I had never heard of it until that point. The amount of dedication needed and drive to overcome it is amazing. So shout out to everyone out there who has CF. It's you guys. There is a way to be healthy and to live a great life. And best of luck to everyone who has it.
Yeah, it's huge. Good for him.
And and the one thing, being Santosh's coach, like if you didn't know that Tosh had CF, you couldn't tell, because he warmed up the same way. The only way you could tell is if you saw him kind of taking his inhaler and a little bit some routines right beforehand to try and break up some of the mucus, but you really didn't know. And there's something to be said about that, because I think nowadays we see a lot of people using things as crutches, right? There's a lot of people that want to kind of fall back on things, so when they fail, it's oh, that's why. Tosh was never that type of person. If Tosh didn't have a good race, it was because he didn't have a good race. There was never any, well, my CF maybe not breathe as well. And so it was kudos to you and the man that you were throughout college, and now the man that you get to be, and spread that on to a lot of people to just, you were able to compete at a Division I level in track with something that, you got to be able to breathe well. You have to have very good, lung function, and have to be able to run well. And you're, for all intents and purposes with CF, you probably shouldn't have been as good as you were, but it's your hard work and perseverance. That's a really good credit to you, Tosh.
Yeah, man, definitely. Thank you for that. And I like how you mentioned like a lot of people use that as, or excuses as a crutch to say they didn't do well. I mean, the way I've been raised and the way I think of it is like, yeah, I have it. And, you know, there's a very famous quote from Julian Edelman's father that said, you know, nobody really cares about your problems. People care what you do about them. So what I do about it is I just continue to do the best that I can. And, you know, whether I'm running with, you know, 99% normal people in high school and college, and I'm keeping up with them. So I think I like to think myself as a normal person. I wasn't even open about CF in high school. I didn't really tell anybody that I had it because there's so much to it. The last thing I want to do is spend 10 minutes talking to my high school classmates about something they're really not going to know anything about. It's actually when I told Pete that I had it, he said to me, like, I'm surprised I didn't know this when I was recruiting you. And I said, you know, I didn't really know if I should tell you because I didn't know if that'd be like a disadvantage or, you know, why is he telling me this as if like an excuse to be on the team? Like, I feel like I should earn it the way everybody else does. So I think that kind of helped me later. You know, maybe it would have helped me before, but I didn't really feel like I needed to say anything at first, not knowing if it would sound more impressive after I got on the team at Marist that I had CF. But it was a pretty big accomplishment. Yeah,
I mean, plus you wanted to get everything on your own merit. You didn't want to say, oh, well, we're going to take him on because he has CF. You were like, hey, this is what I am, what I do, and you earned everything that you got.
Yeah, man, definitely. I appreciate that.
And the beauty of that, though, is if you know Pete, it wouldn't have mattered. Like now knowing Pete and knowing that, we'd have been like, yeah, but can you run? And that's all that came down to Pete. And, you know, anyone that met Pete Colezo or knows him, he's a very blunt individual. And that's one of the main reasons why I loved Pete, because, you know, when I did my official visit there, he was just kind of like, hey, listen, I don't have much money to offer you. You're not fast enough, but I'd love to take you on. I think you have potential. And it was like, okay. Like, you know, I can get down with somebody that's that honest. He's like, we could maybe work on something if you hit some marks, but you know, right now I don't have anything to offer you. And that was
you could tell that Pete really wanted people who were going to be dedicated to the team. You know, I mean, look, honestly, I didn't have any scholarship money, but I mean, I'm lucky enough where I didn't really need it financially. But I just wanted to do track. I just wanted to stand out from the rest of the student body. When you're part of a school of 6,000 kids and only 9% are student athletes, and you can say you're part of that 9% at a Division I, you know, I think it's a pretty big deal. I wasn't an ARP. I was an athlete.
Yeah, exactly. You become a NARP quick. I'm a NARP now. I'm a non-athletic regular person, 100%. But yes,
an athlete at heart.
That's why I still do this. So I can live vicariously through other athletes that are still doing their thing.
That's it, man.
In terms of your preparation, in terms of your dedication, how hard was it to stay dedicated when it got tough, especially with dealing with the cystic fibrosis and things like that? And, you know, like I said, college workouts take a step up. So what was it like kind of going through, you know, your first classic Terry Horton 200 on the grass track at Northfield, like 200-meter workouts? Like, what was that like trying to step up to the level of collegiate workout dealing with cystic fibrosis?
You know, I will say this, like in terms of dealing with CF and combining track with it, it really was not that hard for me to manage. You know, I'm fortunate enough where I don't really have the amount of treatments or take the amount of medicine that the average person takes with CF. So it wasn't really difficult for me. I would say what was probably what any normal college athlete would experience, which is when you come into a new program and you realize that everybody's just as fast or as fast as you from high school. So you don't necessarily stand out anymore. You know, captain from Darien High School, you know, anchoring the 4x4 at the state meet. It's not going to happen. I mean, it could, but it's most likely not going to happen at the MAC meet your freshman year. So the grass track was definitely, I do remember the flags that Terry would put out. And I was
the cones
like,
and everything.
This is what I signed up for. I knew Marist they did not have a track, but I was just ready to go with it. And I just went with it and just ran the workouts, whereas others weren't a fan. I was just like, well, this is what it is. So we did it. But eventually, you know, as we got into the track season, it got easier because we went to Vassar more often. I didn't mind doing hills. I know how good hills are for you. So as the winter and spring came along, it was definitely easier going to Vassar a lot more often. But being on Northfield, was tough freshman year, but we didn't really work out on North Field my sophomore, junior, senior year. We just didn't really do it. We were more at the boathouse. We were at the North Field Hill. We tried to get to Vassar more often. I think we had one time where Terry took us to Bowdoin Park, and we just did, I think, part of the trail, but we ran in like almost like interval 400s, but like on the grass. Some parts were hilly, some parts were not. And I think everyone was like, well, what are we doing? Like, we might as well be on North Field. But we did it. But I definitely say that it was an adjustment, but it's what I signed up for. I liked it. It's great to have your workouts scheduled into the day through track and field, any sport really, but for me, track and field, and just enjoy the process.
Yeah, shout out to Terry Horton, sprints coach over at Marist Track. We do not have a track at Marist, Division I program. Hopefully that gets mediated soon, and it seems like it's on the horizon. But overall, just the creativity that Terry had to have for a long time before, thank God for Vassar College. They allow Marist to basically use it at will. Now with the relationship we built, they're fantastic over there. But for a little while, it was kind of touch and go. We were trying to figure out what our relationship was with, how much Vassar was going to let us use it. We didn't want to overstay our welcome. So Terry got creative a whole bunch. And
he did, for sure.
And it worked out because, like I said before, records fell off the board all the time in the sprints. And
they did. It was
incredible to see. So I want to jump into more about track and field because you obviously have a passion for the sport. That's obviously why you're on the show. But, sharing with the rest of us, we all love track. What is it that makes you love track and field?
There's a lot of things about it. The best part, in my opinion, is not even the competition and not even the people who do it. Most of the people who do track and field are super humble. They want to be there. It's a great atmosphere, but also the flexibility of things you can try. I personally believe that track is one of those very few sports where any athlete that's in the off season from their main sport, if it's not track, can do track to stay in shape. There will be some event that will benefit them. If it's a soccer player, it's the events on the track. Sprints, distance, both field hockey, lacrosse. But if you're a basketball player, you can do the high jump. If you're a volleyball player, you can do the high jump or the long jump, any sort of jumping events. For throwing, if you're a quarterback, go and throw the javelin. Go and throw the shot put. If you're a baseball player, also throw the javelin, throw the discus. So the flexibility of events that you have in track and field makes it great to come give it a try. And when I talk to my athletes at my high school, or even the high school I teach at and the high school I coach at, I say to them, I recommend just give it a try. If you hate it, you never have to do it again. But give it a shot and you might end up really liking it. You'll like the people that you're with. You'll realize that people in other sports who their main sport is a sport that's not track are doing track to stay in shape. But then from an athlete's perspective, that's what I really like about it. From a coaching perspective, it's applying a lot of the same drills and workouts that, depending on what event the athlete wants to do, you can reassure that athlete that this is why you're going to be better at basketball through doing track. That's why you're going to stay in shape for basketball. This is why your conditioning for soccer and field hockey is going to be up because you're doing the sport. And for someone who, even though I did not do a whole lot of other sports, I only did track. I didn't even do cross country. I can tell them this is why you should do it. And they do it if they want. Yeah, and they never have to do it again if they hate it.
I always say, if almost any school who has a traditionally good football program, most of those athletes also run track.
Yeah. Well, and their linemen definitely throw because that helps with the footwork. And like track and field in general, if usually the better that your football team is, you have your guys going out for track and field in some capacity. Yeah,
they absolutely should. I mean, they don't have to listen to me. I don't like to be a coach that pressures an athlete to do my sport or join my team. But I say if you want to do it, you might be really happy that you did it.
And the thing is, though, and I think, the beauty of it is when you have these athletes that are good at their other sports, right? But they're probably not going to go Division I. They're not going to do it. And then they come and they really excel on the track, whether it's a field or, jumping or something. And at one point it clicks and you kind of look at them and they look at you and it's like they understand this is going to be their sport. And especially,
yeah, dude, absolutely.
The first time a college scout comes and walks up and is like, hey, I noticed this. And they're just like, okay, I guess this is where I'm at.
They don't know much about it. And I mean, Usain Bolt has his heart set on cricket. until they ran 21.9 at 14 years old and 200.
Yeah. I mean, we've had so many guests on this show who did not start out as runners. And I'd say the majority of them were like, yeah, I realized that I was good and that became my sport because I like winning, or, like I like to compete at that level, or that was my best chance to get into a certain college. So, it's not a sport that most people start off doing. They usually come from other sports, but it's really quick to see who's got it and who doesn't. And that's why I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the beauty of it.
And, when you see right now sports, they make a big deal out of Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf. And what are they making a big deal about? Because they could have been another sport athlete, right? Robert Griffin III could have been an Olympic hurdler.
He was a great hurdler as it was, yeah.
He was amazing. And, he still loves the sport.
Definitely. And that's what I think you can tell football players is that guys like Tyreek Hill, who ran 20 point in high school, DK Metcalf, 233 pounds, he's ran 10-3 500-meter dash. These guys, a lot of these guys do track. I don't know if you guys know who Devin Achane is on the Dolphins.
Oh, yeah.
21 years old. He ran 10-1-4 for Texas A&M. He could have very well, if he tried out for the Olympic team, there's a good chance he would have had a shot at making the team. Yeah. I don't know why why Ted Ginn passed up a chance to go to the 2008 Olympics just to stick with football. Why would you not want to say that you went to the Olympics and played in the NFL?
Money, probably.
Money, but just recognition.
I know, but
I would have loved to see that. I would have.
I get it. And, but we have, what was he called? Curtis Godwin. Was he the one that did the jumper as
Marquise
well?
Goodwin.
I think Marquise Goodwin.
Marquise Goodwin, not Curtis Godwin. Marquise Goodwin, world-class jumper. And also, pretty damn good football player. And there's been, Rocket Ismail was another one that competed at a high level running. And
Bob Hayes, long
time ago. And
Ronaldo Nehemiah, one of the greatest hurdlers ever.
You're aging yourself, Dave. You are aging yourself now, old man. But hey. You are the encyclopedia. But overall, there is a major benefit, and it's good to encourage athletes to come out. And this is not only for young men, for young women as well. Like you said, volleyball, basketball, you want to get that extra inch jumping.
Yeah. Field hockey.
Field hockey, go long jump, go high jump. You'll gain that burst. And I tell a lot of people too, people are like, I hate running. It's like, that's fine. Mm-hmm. You don't have to run.
You don't have to run.
Go be a jumper and thrower. You know what you do? You lift every day, and then you go work on your steps 2-3 days a week. You're in the weight room all the time. So if your goal is to get stronger and then learn how to use that muscle in an explosive manner, come trust a track coach to teach you how to do it. We can.
That's the other thing, actually, that I wanted to hopefully touch on soon is especially in high school, is the weightlifting part of it.
Yep.
The amount of injuries that you'll see and just the amount of potential that's not there, that is there, but is not being acted on. It's the weight room, dude. Whether your school has a good weight room. Luckily, Darien has a terrific weight room. Blindbrook, where I am right now coaching, it does not have a great weight room. They have something, but the strength part of it is there's so much more to every sport, not just track, from weightlifting. That's so important. Yeah. That only so many coaches really have their kids do.
And I think so many, people think weightlifting, you have to get big and strong, but there's so many different ways to lift weights. You could, as a distance runner, you can certainly utilize the weight room. Mm-hmm. You might do lightweight, a lot of reps, but, it still gets you stronger. You don't always have to go all out and max, but, I think that's a big misconception that everyone has is, I don't want to get big. Well, you don't have to. You can build strength in
train for endurance. Endurance.
Or the plyometrics, or there's so many things that you could do in the weight room that can really help.
And the thing is, too, Galen Rupp famously became a weight room junkie. And if anyone sees Galen Rupp, he's a string bean. But some of his routines in the weight room were absolutely legit. The man knows how to lift. And, I don't know what his regimen is now as a marathoner, but I can imagine it's not much different because you do need that. And, I talk about Coach Suma again. He was very big on functional muscle. And
I think functional strength is the best way to go, in my opinion. Ego lifting, it'll get you somewhere if you want to build pure strength. But, you need to make sure you're maximizing the range of motion and all the movements that you do. I was doing front squats today, really heavy front squat, first set, 205 pounds by 12. Whew. And by my 12th rep, dude, I was barely going down. And I thought to myself, like, oh, that wasn't a good rep. Like, I need to start getting to the range of motion. The weight might have been too heavy, but that's what I liked about sumo, is that, the functional strength is what's going to get you there. If you train lighter, but you train smarter, if you're in the gym and you just think like, oh, I'm lifting this lighter weight, but you're doing it right with good form, you look better than the guy who's not even rowing a dumbbell all the way up if he's doing barbell bent over rows, for example.
So can I please ask you, because
technique is important.
I am so tired of watching stupid videos of people putting up bench reps and their backs arching like a freaking McDonald's sign. And
I've seen it.
And then it's like, no, if your lower back is not on that bench, it does not count as a rep. That is not, you're not using your chest anymore. You're now using your lower back, and you're using your legs to lift up that weight. And that is not the purpose of a bench press. So can you please yell at every single sprinter or football player or whatever at your school that you see arching their back and going, I got that. It's like, no, you didn't. You actually can't lift that weight. Like,
exactly. I mean,
I get so tired.
In a way, yeah. I mean, you can say the same thing with, bent over rows with a dumbbell is like probably a big one, or bicep curls. If you're using your back to curl a bicep, it's too heavy.
Yes.
You can't do it with that amount of weight. And even a pull-up, if you're not coming all the way down and if you're not bringing your chin above the bar in a pull-up, it's not a pull-up. It's not a rep.
And I think that's the value too, where not enough athletes use the Olympic lifts. They're scared of them, right? They're scared of deadlifting. They're scared of cleaning. They're scared of those things. But one thing that those do is they teach you how to use your form. You're not going to get a good cleanup unless you're firing, right? And
you got to be having good form.
And one of the things that was at Marist is you couldn't go onto heavier weights until you were firing up with a clean and, deadlift and things like that. And the difference between using an octabar versus a straight bar when you're deadlifting, like all of these things, which I like a straight bar better because it forces form, but I digress. But it's like you learn all these things. And like you said, functional strength. Now, obviously, if you're a distance runner, you're not going to want to, do heavy deadlifts all the time, right? You might want to do it once in a while, but you want functional strength. So you have to base it towards there, but it's also having somebody like you who's knowledgeable about lifting. And like you said, there are a lot of coaches that aren't super knowledgeable. We're blessed in Manchester. Coach Griffin is, a nut with the weight room. He's in great shape and he knows what he's doing. So when his athletes go in there, they understand because he teaches them. So
exactly. And not only with flexibility, which I actually have to get on a little bit more than I used to maintain my range of motion, but also for the injury prevention comes from strength. Like if you're not strong enough and if you're not giving your body enough recovery, that's a different conversation. But if you're not strong enough, your body can't handle. I mean, I know a few people, like my sister being one of them, is a field hockey player. In high school, she wasn't lifting enough weights. Her knees were hurting because her quads weren't strong enough. And I think more likely I see it more often in girls than boys, that girls don't want to lift weights because they think they're going to get big. If you do a lot of cardio and lift weights consistently, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get big. I tell them that all the time. Like you should be lifting weights, like for your long-term health, especially since the risk of osteoporosis goes up in women with age. Lifting weights is going to reduce that risk. You may not have to start in high school, but it's a good place to start, because it will help you in your sport and prevent injury.
And as you get older, you should be lifting heavy. That's a thing that people don't understand. And, I need to start getting on that. I need to start hitting the weight room more because I'm not a spring chicken anymore. But it's, you need to start lifting heavy as you get older because it is really good for you. So
it is very good for you. Yeah. And I think, I like how you mentioned that a lot of people are scared to deadlift. I do know a few people who are my age, a little younger, maybe 1 year older, who don't deadlift anymore because they've hurt their back. I've been fortunate enough where I have not hurt my back. I usually do hex bar deadlifts. Like I haven't traditionally deadlifted in a little while, but I definitely will get back to it. But, what we were saying about the form is that the form is a big thing. It's like if you have one big deadlifting injury, of course you're going to be scared to deadlift again. There's no doubt about that. But, deadlifting is one of those exercises that really works like every muscle in your body, not just your glutes and your lower back and parts of your legs, but you have to make sure you have good form and keep lifting heavy for as long as you can, because there are a handful of people in their 50s who are still lifting heavy because they've taken care of themselves and their form looks good. Maybe they've been coached really well. Maybe they've been doing it for a while, but not even just for an athlete, but like on the conversation of long-term health. It's going to help you. Like I've seen a bunch of my coworkers now. I mean, I'm a first year full-time teacher. I'm still young and in shape, but even some of the younger teachers, they're starting to let themselves go. And maybe they're not as passionate about working out as me. And you don't have to be, but you just got to do something to just maintain yourself.
Yeah. Get yourself a weight belt and go with somebody that knows what they're doing so they can help you out for the first few times because it's valuable. So
definitely.
It's awesome that you're passionate about this, and it's only going to be able to help your athletes and things like that as you guide them. And, just from knowing you personally, they're extremely fortunate to have you as a coach because you're not only somebody that cares about the sport, you care about people. You're one of the nicest guys on the team. And I don't think you had a single person that disliked you on the team. And that's rare because people find reasons to dislike people just because they exist. So it's like, the team is very, very fortunate to have you as a coach.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
They better know that, or otherwise, I'll go take them all out.
Yeah, go take them all out for me.
So I want to ask you, Dave, do you have anything else to add to here? Because I do want to ask them our big question of each show that we ask our guests.
No, this is great. You know what? I love the fact that Alex finally pulled his weight here and got a guest on our show. So I'm just enjoying you guys chatting. I will, give a little thing here or there, but this is awesome.
I love it. So, Tosh, I do want to ask you, we ask all of our guests this question. I'm putting you on the spot.
Sure.
One of the goals of this show is to kind of figure out a way to get track and field bigger for more of the casual fans because we want to tell stories. We want it to reach people more than just the X's and O's and things, right? If we gave you like a magic wand and you were able to do whatever you want to fix the sport of track and field and make it more popular so that people can pay attention, so pros can make money, that, they don't have to sit there, bust their ass for 10 years and then go back to working a full 9 to 5 because they barely scraped like $20K a year. What would you do in order to fix the sport of track and field?
Oh, man, I think that's a pretty loaded question. But I think in terms of the money part of it, I think I don't even know where I would get funding and stuff to pay all these athletes. But I think what you would have to do is, I think every other country but the U.S., like the government will pay you to do the sport. So I think from a political standpoint, I would have some sort of legislation passed for track and field athletes to get paid a little bit more. But I guess from promoting the sport, not everybody wants to sit at a track meet for 5 hours. But if I were to wave my magic wand to try to answer your question more directly, I would try to spark some interest in other athletes. Just come check out, I'm a little biased, but a sprint event just to see how fast and how effortlessly some people can run. And a great example is like the Laux Games. I don't know if you've been to the Laux Games yet down in White Plains. I ran there in high school. I just had my team do really well there last spring, last season. But if you see some of the way that some of these athletes run at the Laux Games and you see how they do it, it's going to make a lot of athletes want to run just like these people do, just like these kids or young adults do. Because you've seen there's different kinds of speed, like football speed, or if you're in basketball, like jumpers, like see how these people high jump. But if you see what these athletes can do, it's going to make other people want to do it and hopefully want to take up the sport of track and field to get towards their goals. Faster, run a mile. I mean, everybody knows about the mile, right? Like if you ask someone, hey, you did track, what's your mile time? People have asked me that. Hey, Coach K at work. Coach K, what's your mile time? I wasn't a miler. I was a sprinter. Even though I did put down a 5:23 when I was a junior. But people want to get better at running or jumping, like typical movements that everybody does. I mean, everybody runs, everybody jumps, everybody throws something. But then when they see how far people can throw a javelin, how high people can jump over the bar, how fast they can run the 100, 200 meter dash, I think it would spark some interest. So getting some exposure to the sport at a big meet where people see the talent that they could potentially have, I think will really help promote the sport of track and field from a casual standpoint. I don't know about a professional standpoint in terms of money, but a casual standpoint, the more exposure you can get, the more crowds you can draw for just the most exciting events will definitely help the sport grow.
It's funny you mentioned, something doing just with the sprints, because we had David Verberg on, who 4x4 mainstay for the United States national team, 44-second 400-meter runner. And he mentioned very much so, because obviously he's biased being a sprinter. And he was just like, he's like, we need to have a sprint event where it's just sprints. It's quick. You have some of the best in the world going and you promote it as that. And, I don't think that's a bad idea. And,
I don't know.
We've talked on the show, Dave, about, my suggestion of having 3 different days, having a sprint day, a distance day, and a field day, however you want to split them up.
That's a good answer.
Fans of each can, go on and do it. And
no more than like 2 hours for each day.
Yeah.
So that way you don't lose the interest. Interview the athletes prior to the race. Have some story. Or like we've also had guests, come on and say, hey guys, have you ever gone? Try to put it in layman's terms. Like, have you ever bowled and picked up a 16-pound bowling ball? Can you imagine Ryan Krauser throwing that thing 76 feet? Or like show like Mondo, but like show have like a picture of like a building, and like this is how high he pole vaults over the.
This is your house, and he can jump over it.
Break it down
to an extent. Yeah. I think that
things
experiencing what it's like to run against someone like that much faster than you would also be kind of cool. Like an example is like I've had times in high school where or even in college when I was home for break, I was doing a workout and you'll see some 5th grade kid and they'll be like, "Hey, can I challenge you to a race?" It's like, they think they're so fast, right? And then I go, if we were doing 100 meters or 40-yard dash, I like go all out for the first 20 yards and just chill at the end. Like, how are you so fast? I'm like, well, this is how I did it. So then you plant the seed in their head. This is how you can get as fast as me.
Well, yeah, it's like we had Clayton Murphy on, and he'll go to his local high schools for his workouts, and he'll talk to the kids, and they can watch him. He's really big on trying to build the sport and get people interested. So he'll go to a bunch of different local high schools with his coach and do his workouts there, which I thought was really cool.
It's really insane to see like all these guys on TV, like track or football. Like if you want to go back to like using Tyreek Hill as an example, you can see him run on the field on camera, but when you really see him run a 40-yard dash in person, it's just you have never seen someone go that fast in person. It's just really incredible to watch, like how fast these people are. Of course, he's the top 1% of fastest humans in the world, but when you just see how fast some people can be, it's like something you've never seen before. And it always looks faster in person than it does on camera. Like when I look at myself, like when I see somebody else run at 24 or 23, 200, and then I was like, wow, that must be how I looked because I ran that same time. But every time my mom films my race, I don't look like I'm going that fast. But then I see someone else running 23. It's like, man, I was really moving, wasn't I?
Basketball is a good example for me because if you're watching basketball on TV, yeah, they look like they're moving fast, but it's like you kind of see.
Oh, yeah. And if you sit courtside, like my buddy was at a Brooklyn Nets game. He said, I sat courtside for the first time.
You can't
got tickets through work. He's like, I have never seen. I was not aware how fast the NBA game works.
And you're seeing 7-foot guys sprinting. They look slow, like if you're on TV, but then when you see them in person, they are flying.
Dude, they're ridiculous.
It's actually crazy.
Ridiculous.
So, here's a question for both of you. Do you think if we were able to get celebrities from other sports and things like that to start coming to the big events, that would help? Do you know
for track and field?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like what would be like Tyreek Hill, like who ran track in college, or
like Tyreek Hill, or just like anyone that used to run, or like a celebrity?
Do you mean like to compete, or just come in to hang out?
Just to come and hang out and watch this event and be there, and here I'm going to be in a box seat watching. Obviously, I'm eating food and everything, but I took my time to go and support Noah Lyles, support Steve McLaughlin. Like
I think if we get Taylor Swift in there, that's all we need.
I was going to say. I mean, look at the NFL; it's so watched. Anyway, but when she's at a game, it's magnified by 100. So obviously,
look how many sales DeAndre Swift's jersey has had since she started watching.
Travis Kelce.
Yeah, no, I mean DeAndre Swift though. His jersey's been selling.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, all the Eagles Swifties fans are buying DeAndre Swift's jersey because of an Ailer,
and because Travis's brother plays for the Eagles, Jason. So there's a connection.
So who can Taylor date in track and field? Because it's all about who she dates. Because the biggest she's just, dates a guy a minute. So
Gotta
who?
be Noah.
Yeah. So let's see. So she's 33, and so is Travis. Because Kelsey just turned 34. So now Noah Lyles is 26. So it'd be an age difference, but it could work. I'm trying to think how many 33-year-old track athletes.
No, you know what? Honestly, just let's hook her up with Mondo. Mondo, listen, I'm not afraid to say it. Mondo Duplantis is a pretty man. Okay, hook him up with Taylor Swift, and people would love that because he's marketable. She's Taylor. Let's go, Mondo Taylor. I don't know if you have a girlfriend or someone. Tell her it's all business. Break up with her for a little. Get back with her later if you love her.
I actually don't know who this is.
You don't know who Mondo Duplantis is? You gotta look up Armando Duplantis. Right. He is.
I'll look him up.
Greatest pole vaulter of all time.
Greatest pole vaulter. He's reset his record, I think, 3 times last year, Dave. At least he reset his own record.
He's gone over 20, 70-something times.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look him up.
He's incredible. Yeah, he's one of the field people that should be.
He had a pole vault pit in his backyard. His dad was a pole vaulter. He's been going he's got every age record at every level. He's
incredible.
That's
he's
awesome.
The greatest pole vaulter ever. So yeah, and there you go. Now, if you have a pole vaulter on your team, you can show him Armando Duplantis videos and be like, "Here, you could be this."
Born and raised in the USA, competes for Sweden.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think most track athletes are very young, so I think it'd be kind of. Unless Taylor Swift wants to date a younger guy, not much younger than her.
Olivia Rodrigo
could, yeah.
Yeah, and
Jakob
Ingebrigtsen.
Yeah, Rodrigo and Ingebrigtsen. There we go. That'll be perfect.
What a great guy. Well, I'm sure that any sort of celebrity, to your point, that could say something about track and field would be a big thing to help the sport.
Yeah, because it was big. Just when Noah Lyles called out the NBA, that got so much street cred because Noah Lyles, that people were like, he could kind of say what he wants. He's the 100, 200 meter world champion.
He's single-handedly, arguably the fastest man in the world right now. Like anything he says about track and field, people want to be as fast as him.
Which
Absolutely.
Is why I love how ESPN put RG3 for their college coverage, and he just was tweeting about it, and he was so into it. He was at the meet. He was interviewing people, and you could tell that he had such a passion. And then you see him every Sunday on the ESPN NFL show, and it only helps.
And he hurdled.
RG3,
he was great.
We need Emmanuel Acho too, because he is very big into track and field commentary right now. So him and Emmanuel Acho should be calling track and field events because that would be good. That's clout. Acho has his own show on Fox Sports 1. And, when the Noah Lyles stuff was going down, he was siding with Noah the whole time. And he has a panel he talks to with Nate Burleson and some other guys on there. So
Troy Taylor's there. So, Shady McCoy.
I do like that. Yeah, Shady McCoy was there. And Shady McCoy was a runner as well because he talked about it. He was, a state competitive runner. So, again, goes back to your point, Overtosh. A lot of these athletes, they ran, they threw, they were state competitors. And, and we had a handful over at Marist that we would always try and convert, right? We would.
Yeah, so the football kids, Justin Christian did it for a little bit. We had Josh Taylor on there. And we had a handful of football players who did it. And I don't know if the coaches were always happy about it, especially if they got hurt, but there were a handful of football players that would have been great track athletes, and some of them took advantage of it.
Glenmore Leonard Robinson.
Yeah, look at Glenn. Glenn killed it. I don't think anyone's going to touch his school record, man. 10.36 now.
He's the fastest runner in the history of the MAC. He has the MAC record. And
Glenn's the best kid too, man. I miss him. I hope he's well. His brother's crushing it at Ithaca too. Both of them run 6.75 or faster in the 60 dash. It's ridiculous.
Not surprising. So, Tosh, what also isn't surprising is that we just had a wonderful episode. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
We did, man. Yeah, man. Let me know. I'll definitely come back on anytime you need me. And yeah, man, this was great. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. So is there anything that you would like to plug or talk about before we jump out of here?
Yeah. I'll just say something super quick because I know it's getting late, but
no, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah, so definitely for the sport of track and field, it's something everybody should just give it a try if you don't have another sport in mind. And if you hate it, you never have to do it again. I don't know how many people view this, but you can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is Old School Soul with a period in between old and school and in between school and soul. So give me a follow if you want, and you can reach out for any advice on weightlifting, training, and just the sport of track and field overall. I'll be happy to help you out, get started with it, get started training, and make you the best athlete you could possibly be.
Does your school team have any X or Instagram that people can go and track what your team's doing?
Unfortunately not. It's a very small school, and the track program is not too well developed. I'm literally my first year coaching for cross country and indoor. Be my second year for outdoor track in the spring, but hopefully in 20 years I'll have a pretty sick program going.
Let's get on
We'll
that.
see. I'm gonna build it.
We're going to be on you now for PRs because you know what? I want to hear, one of the biggest thing about us, we love hearing PRs. And,
yeah, man, I'm going to try.
Yeah,
I'm going to try.
I don't care if you run a 30-minute 5K or a 15-minute 5K. If you get a PR, we want to hear about it. You deserve to be bragged about. And we want to.
You won't be seeing me doing anything over 200 meters.
Oh, man. So once again, talking in ovals here. Alex and Dave over there. And Dave, you have anything to say before we close out?
No, just say, thank you for coming on. And I cannot wait to give everyone an update next week from this New York Legends Marathon dinner that I will be attending on Wednesday.
Yep.
Awesome. Sounds good.
And come Monday, we'll definitely probably be chit-chatting a little bit about the marathon because the marathon's on the 5th. So we're excited for that. So if you like what you heard, give a like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Go and find us on the socials at Talking in Ovals. We will be back again next week. So long, everybody.